Hi guys, and welcome to Mom Babes, where every mom is a babe. And if you're like, Christina, I don't feel like a babe, I haven't worked out in forever, then this channel is especially for you. None of us has it all together, but we are all creatives. And if you're like, yo, hold on, I'm not a creative, that's a lie, because raising a live human being is the most creative thing that there is. Be sure to subscribe and ding the bell to get notified each time I release a new video so you will never have to miss one. Today we are talking about white space and how to build more white space into your life. So first of all, what is white space? White space is what it sounds like actual blank white space. So think about when you look at a logo and there's the logo and then there's space around it. So advertisers use white space specifically to draw your attention to what they're trying to sell you. You see white space like there's active and passive white space. So passive white space is literally the space between letters so that you can actually read them, because if all the letters were on top of each other, you couldn't even read and there would be no message. And active white space is a little more intentional, like putting one tiny little picture in a big like white area so that you only have this tiny picture, and that gives you a different feeling versus less white space. So that's kind of what white space is. We're not talking about digital advertising or anything like that today. What I'm talking about is applying this concept of white space to your actual life. This is something that I probably started thinking about a year ago, and really what was interesting to me about it was this life that we live that is so full, and especially as moms, and how oftentimes you have this thing and this thing and this thing and this thing, and you're just running from thing to thing to thing, and there is no space in between. I'm going to talk about white space in terms of physical, like actual space in your actual house where you live. And then we'll talk about it more in terms of your calendar, and then also in your everyday life, how to create more of it and how to make your overall life more restful. I think that was the end goal, is to create more of a restful life in general. Another way to think about this too is to think about it as actually setting boundaries. Like if you think about a piece of paper that has white space, like drawing lines on that piece of paper around your life, where this area is going to remain blank, whereas we can fill in the rest of this border or wherever else. So part of creating white space is not just to create the space, but to also protect the space. And that's where boundaries is gonna kind of come into this as well in my life. I think that's what I like about it so much, because when you think of big, wide open spaces, I think luxury, expensive, beautiful. When you think of a giant hotel room, not too much like knick-knackiness, that kind of space to breathe is kind of what we're trying to create here in our life. White space doesn't always have to be like, I'm sitting here in like perfect silence and nothing else is going on. Like you can be listening to classical music while drawing. You might find that it's like a good time to think about your day, think about a situation that's going on, and work toward work toward a solution. That's the other nice thing about white space, and why it's so good for your brain, is because it allows you to process your life, process your day, process that conflict, and then work it out in your brain. Instead of just input, you are focusing on a resolution and an output for your actual life. The other powerful thing about white space is not just that it allows your brain time to work through things, it also allows you to come back to your everyday life and really appreciate it. This is why vacations are so good for you, because you're in another setting, you're seeing new things, and then eventually, I don't know, maybe you never tire of vacation, but eventually I get to a place where I'm like, oh, this was a good reset, but I'm excited to come home. And then you come home to your real life and you see your real life in a new way and have a new appreciation. You might also relate to this if you have little kids and they go down for a nap and you get a break from them. You're able to like have enough time away to like come back into the room when they're awake and happy and appreciate them, instead of being like, oh my gosh, like I just need a break. That white space, that time away from stimulus, allows you to see things in a new light, which is part of this whole appreciating your life, living in the moment more, because you're giving yourself space to do that. So first, let's talk about this from a physical standpoint. So Visual clutter is a thing. Let me give you an example. There is a massive pile of laundry in the middle of your living room. Every time you walk by the living room, your brain subconsciously is processing those images. It looks at the room and sees the bucket. You may or may not do anything about it. You may or may not even consciously register it, but your brain is taking in that information every single time you walk by. So if every single room in your house is cluttered, visually, that's going to take a toll on your brain, and it's going to require more intentional white space to get you back to normal. And for me, I find that it's actually very stressful to have everything super cluttered. Obviously, I get it. We have kids. You clean something and 5 minutes later, it looks like you haven't cleaned it in years. But what you can do is pick certain spaces or certain rooms that you do keep clean. For me, I have an office space that I know is always going to be orderly. The kids aren't going to be able to come in here, so if I need a break, I can sneak away, a closet, a bedroom, something like that. The other thing that you can do is minimize the amount of spaces that have clutter. So maybe we'll just work on this one room. And it's not always necessarily just putting stuff away that's on the floor, even though for me, that's huge. If the floor is clean, like the whole room looks clean to me. But sometimes it's like, oh, do we have too many things hanging on the wall? Do I love all these things? Kind of looking at it that way. The other thing that really helps me as I'm thinking about, okay, well, yes, I want to declutter. Everybody wants to declutter. Everybody wants to be organized, but I only have so much time. Think about what bothers you the most. Like, what are your pain points? What is super difficult for you right now? Is it the shoes that are piled in the front entryway? Is it the dishes? Is it your closet that amasses a pile and never seems to get put away ever? So what is your pain point? What bothers you the most? And addressing that thing, and maybe doing one thing at a time, taking like 5 to 10 minutes, and even if that doesn't get the whole job done, like decluttering as much as you can. Something that I actually found to be super helpful for me, and this is a little OCD, I guess, but is a drawer. So if I open a drawer and there is stuff just piled everywhere on top, and there's like layers of stuff, I can't really see what I'm looking for, it stresses me out. So that might just be a me thing, but I have found, okay, let's get a drawer organizer and put it in there, and then put in this drawer, what I'm actually going to use again. And I'll probably do another episode on more like, I'm not a true minimalist, I don't think, but more minimalist style living, like actually using what you have. And so that's the point. So look at this drawer and say, what do I come to this drawer for? What do I actually need in here? What if I'm not used in forever? A trick that I will do is put things that I haven't used in a while in a bag in a closet somewhere. And like, unless I literally go looking for the bag, I'll ditch the thing after 6 months, whatever X amount of time that you think is, okay, well, I forgot that I had this thing and I haven't looked for it or needed it in 6 months to a year or whatever, then it can go. Taking a drawer is a good way to start the process. And this is the cool part. So now you've spent the time, okay, you had to go to the store, you had to get or order one online, get an organizer. You had to take the 20, 30 an hour, I guess depends on how intense the drawer is, and you organized it. But now the cool thing is every single time you go to that drawer to open up, it's literally not only do you not have this frustration that you can't find what you're looking for, it's not the visual clutter that was there before. You see it, it's organized. And for me, it's almost like an endorphin rush of like, oh, this is visually pleasing. And we all like to look at pretty things. If you're like, I don't like to look at pretty things, you're probably not being totally honest with yourself. Everyone likes a pretty, clean, organized environment. It's more of how do I find the time to do that in my life? And sure, you may have like, you're like, yo, like all my drawers are a disaster. So this might be a project that you do over time. And it doesn't even have to be drawers. Like I said, pick your pain point. Pick something that really bothers you and address that first. and you'll find your brain will recognize as things change. So if you've always walked into the living room and you're used to that, laundry basket being there, and maybe you just move it. Maybe you're like, we're not gonna put it over here where I'm looking at it all the time. I'm gonna hide it over here behind the corner of the couch so that I can deal with it when I get to it. And even doing something like that, your brain notices every time you walk by, oh, that's not there anymore. And you're able to look and get that visual reward. So that's kind of like a brief way of how you can create white space, like visually in your home. Another way that you can create white space in your life is in your calendar with your time. And for me, this has been the biggest game changer, something that I've practiced over the past year. And I'll tell you all the different things that I tried and the things that really stuck out the most to me in this season of being a busy mom, what actually helped create more space, more luxury. The first thing that you can do is to schedule, you could call it white space, rest time, whatever you want to call it. Schedule it, like actually, if you have a calendar, write it in your actual calendar, which is the first step. The second step, and the more important step, is to protect it. So to not be like, whatever, I was going to try to do this white space thing, but this thing came up. I'm just going to move that to whatever. And then when you have this thing that is scheduled white space, it's taking time, you're busy. You're busy doing white space. No one has to know that you're doing white space, but it's none of their business anyway. You're busy doing white space. You've created a boundary around your time where you are going to invest in the space and breathing of your brain, of your soul, a chance to catch up on everything. There are some people that say, I love being busy. And I'm always skeptical because I wonder, really, do you really love going from thing to thing to thing to thing every 15 minutes, not having any downtime, and then there's this thrown at you and this thrown at you and everything is piling up and you don't have time for yourself? We used to be able to do back in the day, which is just take in life. You're just distracted by thing to thing to thing. Your kid is this thing, your other kid is this thing, your other kid is this thing. Really, do you actually really love that life? I feel like a lot of that comes from external pressure on what we should be doing. Like, oh, you didn't put your kid in a sport at X amount of years old. Well, they're never gonna, have an opportunity to do X, Y, Z. And that is not a good reason to fill up your schedule. You should be passionate about the things that you are committing your time to. Be intentional about what you want to do. So one of the ways we can prevent this, busy, 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 going, 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 never stopping, never thinking, never reflecting, never taking in the moment, is to schedule white space. Don't schedule anything on top of it. Well, how much white space should I schedule? I would say, honestly, start small and see how it goes. 30 minutes a week? Is that crazy? Is that too much? And if you're like, no, I'm gonna need more time than that, an hour every few days. I'm talking mom life here, so I'm being very generous with the white space. I need more than that. So for me, I have days when he's a firefighter. So when Austin goes to work and I'm at home with the boys, I know that I have my white space from their nap time, which is noon to 2-ish, more or less, depending on the days. And then they are sleep trained, and sleep training is part of this too, which if you're a mom does create more white space for you. I will link to my sleep training video if you're interested in that. So because they're sleep trained, because they do go to bed at a certain time, that's a boundary too that I set with my kids so that after 7, I have my white space. And once you have the white space, you can use it however you want. Sometimes it's really important to me to visually declutter. So I will do those dishes and get them done and then spend some time resting. Or I will do something creative like this. Or I will journal too. I might take a bath. I might do a home workout. Any of these things, now that I've created this white space for myself, I have the option to do what is fulfilling to me. Or I can do something like leisurely look at a magazine. When was the last time you leisurely looked at a magazine? Those kinds of things. So that's what we're trying to build to, which is a lofty goal in this season of motherhood of young kids, but I do think it's achievable. Don't want to forget this one either. White space is a great time to take a nap. You guys, is there nothing more luxurious than an afternoon nap? Who sleeps in the afternoon? I can't tell you. I love sleeping. So I'm a 9 hours a night person before kids, and I still would like to be that person. So I think there's nothing like more luxurious, more like expensive and fancy than taking an afternoon nap. Like when the kids go down, being able to rest. It is for me the most wonderful reset. Sometimes I'm a little groggy when I get up, so I'll just, drink some coffee and wake up so I can be awake for them. But that is a great way to use your white space in these years. We cannot get enough sleep. So besides physically scheduling white space in your calendar, one way to naturally create it is to say no to more things. Something that I think about all the time is saying yes to something is saying no to something else. So I'll give you an example, especially these things that are recurring. Like when you're doing something that is a weekly, bi-weekly, tri-weekly commitment, you really, really want to stop before saying yes and say, how is this baseball practice going to affect my family? How's it going to interact with our dinners? How's it going to affect me as far as my goals for the day, work schedules? Like you really want to think about what the benefit of it is. And a lot of these things are fun. A lot of these things are good things. They're not bad things. It's just deciding what is your best yes. What are you going to prioritize and invest in? And so, okay, if there's something that is weekly, how important is this to me? It also, I think, does change from season to season. Like, in what season the most important thing is to you. I'll give you an example. So my church has a women's Bible study that they host, once a week. And they do it per semester. So it's like 10 to 12 weeks that you commit to. And so for me, I'm looking at that going, okay, I love a good Bible study. This is really nourishing and encouraging for me. It makes me feel revived spiritually. I feel fed. So this is a good thing, right? But last year I noticed that I really had this passion to write and finish a book. And so I was looking at so this is the other thing too, when you have little kids, I don't know if this is anyone else, but my kids don't always do the best in the nursery. So for me, it literally took, with a 1-year-old and a 2-year-old, not even one, like a baby and a 2-year-old. It took us to get myself ready, to get both of them ready to get out the door, is a 2-hour getting ready process. And that's like I'm booking it all the time. Like I'm getting ready, they're getting ready, I'm getting snacks, everything's getting together, getting everyone in the car, making sure that we have water, etc. 2 hours to get there. And then, you put your kid in the nursery and they're in there for 15 minutes before they start crying. And then you try to bring them into the room because, it's a women's Bible study with other women and they're, nice and understanding, but then your kid is just crying the whole time and you're like, this is not even fun for me anyway. So I spent 2 hours to be here for 15 minutes and then to leave. What am I doing? So for me, because he goes to work and I'm at home with the kids, I would realistically only be going to this Bible study when Austin was home. And normally when he's home is like my golden hours to get things done. And so for me, I made the decision last year to be like, okay, yes, even though it's only once a week, but that's 2 to 3 hours every week, I'm giving up that I could be doing this book and working on this project. And so for me at that time, I decided to write the book, which I did finish, yay, and do that instead of doing this Bible study. And for you, the choice might have been reversed. Like it might have been more important for you to go to the Bible study than, whatever else. But all I'm saying is that it's worth it, especially for those weekly recurring commitments. Because you do want to be like a person of your word. And if you commit to something, you do want to finish it. At least that's how I am. Think about what you're saying yes to. I mean, I'm sure like if you need to back out for whatever reason, people understand. But I don't know. I don't like going into things with the intention of being wishy-washy and seeing where it's going to go. Like, don't go if you're not like into it, you know what I mean? Say you're going through your calendar and you're looking at these weekly recurring things that you've committed to, they're good things, but you're like, hey, maybe next year we'll pull back on this a little. But maybe you're having a hard time being like, no, like we need to do all the things. Like I can't cut anything. I need to do it all. Let's stop and let's ask ourselves why. Why do I need to do all these things? Like, what is it about this thing that I can't let it go? Is that we're trying to be even Steven with all the kids and their activities? Is it that we feel like we'll be damaging them if they don't have this opportunity? Or for your things, is it that, this group of people will be offended if I don't do this? Like, why are you doing these things? And then maybe really do some introspection on if that is the most valuable thing for you, the most life-giving thing for you, or if you are doing this for the benefit of other people, or because of what other people think, or because of expectations that have been placed on you, not because it is the best thing for your family, not because this is your best yes. So that is something that I challenge you. I know it's a little like uncomfortable to consider, because I feel like, especially in this age, I don't think anybody disagrees, but there is this pressure to be going all the time. And so let's think about, do I need to be really doing everything that I'm doing? Like what can give so that we can have more quality family time or more personal white space? Because white space is something that you build into your life for you personally, but it's also something that you give to your family so that you can have moments where you're watching the kids ride the bike in the backyard, or just, for us, it's like sitting in the living room and the boys, 1-year-old and 3-year-old, they're just like throwing toys everywhere, but we're all four together there, enjoying each other with nowhere to go, nothing to do. And we wouldn't have those moments if we weren't diligent about guarding them in our schedule. I feel like I'm like, getting a little touchy, a little like, people might get all offended by like, what? Like, say no to things, reevaluate my schedule? Why? So I'm gonna say another thing that's a little touchy, which is put down your phone. Ouch. Oh gosh. Ooh. Ah. So we all know, I don't think anyone is gonna like debate me like, phones are great for your brain. You should be on your phone as much as possible. It's good for you. More screen time, more screen time. Like, I think we all know less screen time is better, but knowing something and the actual execution of it is different. We all have do not disturb on our phone. This is where, like, for me as a mom, what actually helped was, because I'm not like physically going to work somewhere else. I'm at home with the kids. And so the most effective white space for me has been being present with the kids while they're playing, because you know that as soon as they're distracted, like, oh, they're playing with the water table. Great, let me like pay this bill or get on and do this or shop for this person's gift, or, because you always have this rotating list of things to do, and it's not going to go anywhere. The compromise that I have made is when we start our moment of playtime where they're doing something, I set a timer for 30 minutes and do not disturb, put my phone physically down, like in another room where I'm not gonna reach for it. Do you guys have this thing where like your brain is trained to look for your phone? Like every time, I need to work on this. Like it has to be like, because I know your brain creates brain waves of habits. I subconsciously, like if I see my phone on the counter and I walk by, I'll literally like pick it up, look at it to see like if I got any notifications, set it down, and then keep walking. Why do I do that? And the nice thing about do not disturb too is it like hides the notifications. So if your do not disturb is on, then if you do the thing that you have the bad habit like I do, where you pick up your phone to look at it, you're like, oh yeah, do not disturb. I'm not doing that right now. And then go back to what you were doing. But these devices, you guys, are so powerful. That's why I want to empower you to fight it. Millions of dollars. I probably should do more research. I assume it's a lot of money, a lot of money. People's whole jobs are spent getting you to be on your phone. Like literally, this is what people do for a living, is get you to be on your phone. And so you are fighting like conditioning and advertising and all the fun endorphins and goody goodies. It's a battle to be off your phone. That being said, it is worth the fight. It is worth the fight to put it down. And I'm not saying like, you can't be on your phone ever. I'm just saying like, hey, the kids are playing, set a timer for 30 minutes, 15 minutes, start small, 5 minutes, and like physically remove your phone from the room that you're in and focus and create some white space, some family time too. One thing that I've noticed now that I have a 3-year-old is that he is very aware of when I'm on my phone and when I'm not. And it's hard to explain to him like, yo, bud, I'm like looking for groceries. like I'm not like playing a video game here. Like I'm buying your food and your diapers. So, and they don't understand that. But what they do see is, oh, mom's on the phone. And so I've really, really worked at being better about not being on my phone unless I absolutely need to. And then if I do have like online errands that I need to do, trying to do those when, like taking 15 minutes once they're asleep or something to just get that thing done. So the gold standard here is to have do not disturb on for like the afternoon or the morning. Like if you can work up to that and just kind of forget that you have a phone for a few hours, I think that is golden. Or you can also silence your notifications. I don't get any notifications for social media ever. I just turn them off. I literally never get them. And so that will limit the amount of time that I'm going on to look at stuff. I mean, that's kind of an unfair example because I'm actually really bad at social media and really bad at like getting on and like checking things. I'll do another video on social media because there's so much to talk about it. We'll just put that in a little box for later. But you can silence your notifications. You can put do not disturb on. You can intentionally like schedule it. Okay, this work time, this play time, this me time, we're gonna put the phone down. I think the most important time to do this is especially right before bed. Like what is so important on your phone that you need that screen right before bed? Like, is that really the most important? And then I know people are like, oh, I use my phone to fall asleep, which I mean, I guess everyone has their thing. If it's valid for you, that's great. For me, that's not really helpful. I find that reading a book is actually extremely tiring when you're tired. So I will start reading a book and find that I like read the same paragraph and then I fall asleep. There is a lot of research on not having a screen right before you go to bed. So if you are like, I have to have my phone all day because of your job or whatever, at least in that 30 minutes to an hour before bed, say no, set the boundary, be strong, choose yourself, choose your white space and say, this time I'm off limits. I'll be back in the morning. Everything can wait till tomorrow. If you do just that thing, I think that you will find it will create at least a little breathing room, and you might get addicted to that breathing room and say, where else can I create breathing room? Like maybe we'll try to do a lunch too, where I'm not on my phone at lunchtime. Lunchtime is for me. One area that I have really struggled to eliminate in my life that I'm still working on, I haven't mastered it, is the podcasts. I like listening to a good podcast, mostly things that are educational. And so I like to listen to them while I'm doing chores because then the chore doesn't become as awful, specifically laundry and dishes, because I do a lot of dishes and a lot of laundry. And I mean, a lot of other house stuff too. Ideally, if you could get to the point where you're just washing dishes and not having that auditory stimulus coming at you. Also audiobooks. Audiobooks are like, they're my, what do they call it, kryptonite? Because I'm a writer and I love stories, I'm like addicted to audiobooks. A good podcast is good, but I'm really addicted to audiobooks. Anyways, so then I listen to those while I'm doing chores to make the chores more enjoyable. It's not really white space, but maybe if that isn't as hard for you, then you could make more of your chores at least auditory white space. Like I've noticed with myself, I always have something going in the background, mostly my audiobook that I like to listen to while I'm doing stuff, or music while I'm working out, or, so there's not really this actual quiet time. And it doesn't have to be like I said, it's pure silence, but maybe like outside where there's birds and ambient noise, or just turning off the synthetic stuff. This is something I've not mastered. I still need to work on it. I haven't decided that because I've tried it, like turning, like not listening to my book while I do the dishes, but I've just found it not as enjoyable. I don't know what that means, but I have found other ways to put white space into my life, but this might be great for you. Another way to create white space in your life is to not rush through things. So if well, first of all, figure out, I only have 5 minutes between this and this to get to this, to get to this. And that's, kind of where the rush comes from. So what can we cut? What can we eliminate so that you feel like you can take your time, that you're not like, I'm going to clean these dishes really fast so that I can get on to the next thing. Which I don't know, if you hate doing dishes and want to get it over with, I guess that's a bad example. But like to do things in time. For me, what I wish, this is what I'm trying to get to, is to like take time getting ready. I feel like for these videos, half the time my makeup is like crazy and I'm haphazard because I'm like, I have to get ready to do this video because I only have so much time before the kids wake up. But I daydream about this time when I can leisurely get ready. Do you remember like before kids, or like even when you were a teenager, when you had all this time to like experiment with different hairdos, try on multiple outfits, and like enjoy fashion and what looks good on you, and I don't know, just kind of like have fun. Like it was fun. Like now it's more like a work thing where it used to be like fun to get ready. I need to get back to that. That's another thing that I can work on. If you are able to build white space into your life, fun things to do are to daydream, to just, I mean, if you want to write it down, that's cool, but just to like think about, oh, what would be fun? What would be cool? Like, is there a place I want to travel to? Is there a financial goal I want to meet? Is there something creative that I want to do? Is there like, am I looking to meet new friends? Do I want to connect with my neighbors more? Like how, like daydream about the possibilities of creating this in your life. I'm always about moms having time for themselves to create. So writing, cooking. So what I did last night, because I put the kids to bed and I was tired but not like ready for bed, and I just wanted to do something with my hands. So I made pumpkin bread, and it was surprisingly fulfilling. Not did it only taste amazing, but it was fun to put together and create and just, you know, bake something that was like festive because it is fall and lovely. So that's the option that open space gives you, is every once in a while you can have these indulgences where you can do something that's fun and creative for yourself, that you can actually enjoy, that isn't a to-do. Because sometimes even like things like this, I love doing this obviously, but sometimes they can feel like to-dos, whereas if you have enough white space, you can do things that feel extravagant, that feel like almost bad, like I don't have time for this, but now you do. So another thing for me, being in this stage that I'm in that has created a lot of white space, is going on walks, throwing both my kids in the stroller. Like they're still, I mean, a 3-year-old he's pretty heavy. So when both of them are in the stroller, it's like I'm pushing 70 pounds of kids in this double stroller. Hey, it's a good workout. But more than that, it gets me outside. That's been the best part about having kids, partly, is they bring you back outside. And when you're outside, you can look at the trees and the birds. And for me, just even like, we don't live in like, I don't know, some wildlife sanctuary. Like we live in suburbia, but there are a lot of vegetation, a lot of trees around our neighborhood. So just getting outside and walking around the block with them has created a lot of space for me to think or to enjoy an audiobook. Another one of my favorite like white space times right now is after bedtime. Well, bedtime routine, not the actual like getting them ready, brushing their teeth, bath time. That can be sweet sometimes, but if you have a toddler like me, sometimes it's like a nightmare terror, like hardest part of the day. But after that, once you've read your book and they're in bed and they're settled, one of my favorite times of the day is just like sitting there holding his hand, and we have these little glow in the dark moon and stars on the ceiling, and just like looking at the little moon and stars. And, you know, obviously he's 3, so we're not like talking about the wonders of the world. We're just sitting there, you know, and he'll like sometimes giggle and point at things, or sometimes he'll just sit there in silence. But that has been something that has been, like I said, now I'm like, okay, let's get through bedtime routine so we can get to the cute, like cuddle cozy time. But in the morning or at nighttime, if you have young kids that aren't like, go away, mom and dad. Oh, it's gonna be so sad when I get there. You don't want to cuddle? What? But it's like one of my favorite parts of the day, and it creates a space. And I only spend like 6, 8 if I'm really like, you know, invest like 15 minutes. Like, you know what I mean? So I'm not saying like, oh, you have to spend so much time. It's just like taking a second to soak in, you know, how fun they are right now. And that's kind of the whole point of this video, is creating white space, not just to like have white space, but so that you can build into your life the things that are important to you. For me, that's family time. So just building in more time with our family. And I don't think that that comes accidentally. I think it's something that you do have to be intentional about. And like I said, you gotta put up those boundaries and make sure that you are making time for the most important things. The cool thing is that once you do have this white, open, free, luxurious space in your schedule, it gives you the opportunity to be spontaneous and do those things that you have time for, because we don't have plans. Trust me, I'm a huge planner. I'm all about like, let's have the plan, let's do the thing. But on the reverse of that, there is something beautiful about being like, yeah, let's all go to the park because we're not doing anything else and that sounds fun. So that is the cool thing too, is that you can build a little bit of adventure and spontaneity and kind of just make time for fun in your schedule. The takeaways are A, declutter, so visually creating more white space in your everyday environment. B, clearing up your calendar, so really evaluating, especially those weekly, longer commitments. What is valuable? What is important to you? Do you need everything? And just saying no to more things. As people try to voluntold, is that what it's called? As you're voluntold to do things, fight for yourself, fight for your time. Obviously the things that you feel are like really good, like, oh, this is a really good yes, I want to do that. This is my heart, this is my passion. Say yes to those things and don't feel that you have to fill up the rest of your time with other things. Put down your phone, which easier said than done, or set timed hours of do not disturb, silence some notifications, just a few times a day, and you will be surprised at how much of a breath that you can get in your life and how much more present you are. Find little pieces of time in your everyday mom life that's hectic, 10, 5 minutes here. Like I said, snuggles in the morning, afternoons, and evenings to just sit and take in life and have that white space to appreciate and be grateful for the wonderful life that you have, for the wonderful mom that you are. And if no one has told you yet today, that was an air 5 in case I wasn't clear. You are doing a good job. Gosh, you work so hard and you take care of everyone else. So let's try to take a second to take care of you. I'm just so passionate about how hard you're working, and I know that you're giving 100%, and you're doing so good. Thank you guys for watching Mom Babes. I know this video was a little all over the place, it got a little passionate, but hopefully it was helpful. Hopefully it's something that you can start thinking about. Like I said, this isn't like, you need to do this. It's more just a topic, an idea, like, oh, let's try this little thing here. Let's try this do not disturb, and just to see how it refreshes your life, because it really has refreshed mine. So hopefully I can pass this along to you. Yeah, I think that's it. Thanks guys, and I will catch you next time on Mom Babes.